welcome back, and thank you for letting me invade your ears and be amongst the clutter of your mind. This is another episode of BestowCast. We are talking about the Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special. I mean, timing! So if you don't want the Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special spoiled, this is your warning now. So go watch Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special right this second, and we'll hold until you come back. So now that you're all caught up and you've watched the Guardians of the Galaxy, we waited here forever for you. I was kind of rude to hit the pause button as often as you did. You probably should go see the doctor for as often as you guys, left to use the bathroom. And snacks. I mean, how many times do you have to pause this movie for snacks? Or take a phone call. My gosh. Just watch the movie. All right. Just kidding around. Let's get into this. Let's stop screwing around with this intro. So it's nice that the title is, of course, the Holiday Specials. I mean, I'm trying to remember, because I know, like, the whole naming gimmick of it is reminiscent of the Star Wars, which is I think it's Star Wars Holiday Special, is it not? Hold please while I look that up. Yeah, so it's the Star Wars Holiday Special. So when they first announced it, it's like, oh well, they're going to go in the direction of the Star Wars Holiday Special, the thing that shall not be named. It is now no longer canon. It is disavowed by George Lucas himself. If he could, he would travel the globe with a hammer and smash every available copy he could. But we make quite a bit of references to it within the industry, even within Star Wars itself. I believe. I believe like The Mandalorian makes references to the Holiday Special, or picks and chooses stuff from the Holiday Special. So it was a kind of an interesting naming gimmick when they started it off, where it's like, oh, we're making a Disney Plus one shot. It's another one of these one shots that is a Holiday Special, the Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special, and instantly, gotta get my snap in there. Instantly, you're transported into the Star Wars Holiday Special with that kind of mindset, and it's treated like a holiday special. I was unsure what to expect going in, because I saw a lot of things saying, "Oh, well, this is canon." So if this is canon to the rest of the Guardians of the Galaxy, it may not be too wacky or too out there to make it fit. But then again, Thor: Love and Thunder was really wacky and out there, and it fits. So it was hard to know what to expect with this. And it's truly like a holiday special. They treated it like a holiday special. It's not a Hallmark Christmas movie, cut and paste Christmas movie. It does fit into the Guardians of the Galaxy universe. Some things I kind of wonder what will cross over. It'd be kind of fun to see some things cross over, if it crosses over. But I'll get there when the time allows. So we're treated to a what do they call that? Rotoscoping animated opening. Very, very reminiscent of old Christmas specials from the past. Very reminiscent of the Holiday Special. Although I don't think the Boba Fett thing was rotoscoped. Oh, time to get up. Hold on, get up. I'm pretty sure that it's not rotoscoped. So we start the film with some rotoscoped animation, and how Christmas was ruined for Peter Quill, and how Yondu doesn't, he doesn't support Christmas. That's a Terrian thing. You're in the rigors of space. We're Ravagers. We're tough guys. Honestly, in this opening, just taking it for what it's worth, this opening is like, oh, this guy really, Yondu's really not a nice guy. He's really, in comparison to how he is in Guardians of the Galaxy 2, he's tough. He's supposed to, I guess he's supposed to be what, space white trash, space blue trash. I think that's kind of like his depiction of the character and stuff. But yeah, it's like, oh, this guy's really tough, and obviously over time he obviously softens up a little bit having Peter around. But yeah, it's like, oh, this guy's not likable. He won't let Peter have Christmas. Why can't Peter have Christmas? Damn it! So then we get into like the live action portion of it, and I had to look up this band's name because I like the um, effects that they used, the practical effects, the makeup that they used on these guys. Looks very well, and and that's another thing that I'm like super surprised with when it comes to Guardians of the Galaxy, because there's a lot of, it's space, so we deal with a lot of alien races and whatnot, and that's probably where like majority of their budget went, was just to for all the makeups for these guys. But I had to look up the band to make sure, well, not to make sure, but to see who that is, because it's like I was going through all sorts of stuff. I'm like, is that Presidents of the United States of America? Is that Kevin Bacon's band? I think he has a band. Is that them? Like, who are these people? None of the above. At least so much for the first part. Yeah, it's a band called the Old 97s. They're from Dallas, Texas, and they've been at it since 1992. Very entertaining opening act. Nice down the line hearsay song of, oh, well, this is what Kraglin told us, and this is what Rocket Raccoon, or this is what Kraglin told Rocket Raccoon, and this is what Rocket Raccoon told us. So here's a Christmas song that we're gonna create that's all above that's all like down the line. It's it's the telephone game. Very very entertaining, very fun Christmas song. A song that you should add to your Christmas list. They should put that in rotation on the radio stations and play that. Although that might be pushing it for the little ones when you're kind of hearing about like the elves wanting to kill Santa and stuff, and Mrs. Claus working the pole. Another interesting fact is that and I guess this carries over, is that Nebula says about that they bought Nowhere from the Collector. So the Guardians, I guess, own Nowhere now, which is kind of a little bit different. I don't know if they own Nowhere in the comics. It's been a while since I've read those books. I was always under the impression that there was a third party that owned Nowhere, and they were allowed to operate out of Nowhere. And Cosmo was basically the dog. I was gonna say the person, but it's more the dog, the canine that kind of gives them their marching orders, or gives them their quests that they have to go do. Glad they brought Cosmo. I mean, Cosmo was what it was one of the animals in the Collector scene, and then the dog. At the end, the dog's involved in the post credits where we get Howard the Duck, and I think you see the dog a couple more times at other times. And it was just like, when I saw it, it was just like, oh, this is just a nice little fun little cameo, but they're never really going to do anything with it. And it's kind of nice that they did something with it, that they gave Cosmo her voice, which when I read the books, I've always assumed that the gender was male, so I always read it in a male voice. But then again, it's generally all the characters that I read in a comic book are all my voice to begin with, so all the characters are a male voice anyway. I was glad that they gave Cosmo a voice, and Cosmo has a role, and hopefully they do a little bit more with their head of security. I believe that's what the dog's role was in the comics. She never really went on adventures with them and stuff, but she was always on the side. I think there was some stuff like when invaders attack Nowhere, then she's involved in the action, but she doesn't really travel with the Guardians. She's always on base. She's always on Nowhere. So kudos. I really like the fact that we gave her voice, and we gave her powers. We gave her telepathy and everything. So she's able to do that kind of stuff. James Gunn always does the weird. It's like he gets a talking raccoon, he gets a talking tree, he gets Cosmo the Wonder Dog. He works some magic over on the DC end. I'm not going to get into the DC end right now. Maybe we'll save that into the new year. But there's some problems on that end, on that front. But we're going to stay focused on Guardians of the Galaxy here. So moving on, we kind of get into the main plot point of what this special is all about. Basically Mantis, which again, I'm glad they expanded on Mantis and did a little bit more with her and explain. Well, they didn't really explain her powers more, but you kind of see use of her powers, so it's kind of self-explanatory. And so the focus of the story isn't so much the Guardians themselves, as much as it's just kind of a team up between Mantis and Drax, and you get a little bit more character development with those two characters, and that basically like Mantis here's the story. Cracklin is kind of conveying that story to the two of them, and she wants to kind of give him something that Yondu kind of took away from him, I guess, or kind of just celebrate or bring cheer. Because I mean, when you see Peter going through his motions, I mean, he's checking in gear and doing whatever. He's head counting. I don't know, whatever it is that he's doing. He's not doing adventure stuff. He's just doing item management or whatever, and he acts down. He's not really himself. He's missing the adventure. Gamora is gone, of course, so that kind of weighs in. And Mantis kind of wants to share with him that she's his sister through Ego, because Ego was her father, and Ego was also Peter's father, but she doesn't want to cross that line because Ego was a dick. He fathered a lot of children and killed a lot of children, and she probably was around to witness majority of it. Well, she was around to witness majority of it. What am I talking about? She explains that in End 2, that she sees what's going on and knows where the bones are buried. So she kind of feels like, well, she tells Peter that they're related, that he may have disgust towards her. He may not like her anymore because of her relation to his father. So they decide that they're going to give him the gift that he's always been talking about. So if you've been watching Guardians of the Galaxy long enough, you know that he quite frequently references Kevin Bacon and how Kevin Bacon saves the town through dance and a lot of this other stuff. So they decide that they're going to go to Earth and they're going to retrieve Kevin Bacon for Peter for Christmas. And we get yet another ship, a third ship. So we got what do we have? We have the Milano, we have the Benatar, and now we have the Bowie. So the new ship is the Bowie. Nice, everything's 80s references here. So we get another ship that's named after an 80s icon. And they go to Earth, and they themselves have just have an adventure. They run into cosplayers, which is a kind of hilarious aspect. You have to be aware with Drax because GoBots killed his family. So any GoBot cosplayers here in the future, just be aware that Drax could show up anywhere. And if you're cosplaying as a GoBot, yeah, I'm sorry for you. They go to a bar. They kind of they just learn the human life. I mean, I don't know if it's much of a stretch for those characters. They probably already kind of do that, I guess. I mean, the Ravagers themselves, again, crossing my streams, not Firefly. The Ravagers are shown, to go to different planets and party and whatnot, but I don't know if that's necessarily the same for Drax or Mantis. I mean, I'm sure they have downtime and they enjoy themselves or whatever. But it's just kind of, you get to see their personalities and how they work against the other human components. And again, you get to see like Mantis's powers on display. I'm not sure. So I assume, I don't know. Maybe she uses them against the cosplayers. She acquires money. I don't know. Is it typical that people pose with cosplayers on in front of the was it the Grauman Chinese Theater? Do cosplayers typically get money for photo shoots, or is she using her powers to get money? They don't really show her using her powers, but later on afterwards, when they're trying to find the home of Kevin Bacon, this lady has the map to the stars, and of course they're all spent. Either they lost their money, spent all their money, lost their money, or the money got stolen while they were partying, or they have the money and they just don't want to give up any more money. Another reflection of how it could be at the bars. They might not have paid for any of their drinks. So she uses her powers to influence the lady to give her not only the map, but the her own cash as well. So we get to Kevin Bacon's house. Long story short, they steal some of his. They fall in love with some of his Christmas decorations. Kind of interesting kind of fight where Mantis has like two. What is it? She's like, she has a double standard where it's like, you can't have that elf. Ooh, but I can have this candy cane kind of dealio. Which it kind of plays with her. She's kind of got a childlike demeanor to her. We get to Kevin Bacon. We steal Kevin Bacon. We have I'm gonna try to breeze through that as fast as possible. We have a fight, and we don't kill people for over Christmas. How Drax flips a cop car could potentially have killed cops, and Drax, you can't do that. The rules weren't set beforehand, but. Now, I've watched this thing twice. I watched it with my family, and then the second time I watched it right before recording this so I could be a little bit fresh with what's going on. And I think like the first time I was kind of having problems with like tone, where it's like, oh, this is a Guardians of the Galaxy movie, which they're kind of morally dubious to begin with. They're not exactly straight as Yondu's arrow. So you kind of got that aspect, but then you have kind of the Christmas aspect where generally it's like, oh, love and peace for all and everything else. So you kind of have like this kind of conflict. There was kind of this thing that kind of the first time I went in where it's like, oh, this is kind of weird where, you got these aliens, which were kind of like partying down and everything. That's fine. But then we kind of have this like fight scene in the middle. They're trying to abduct Kevin Bacon, and they're destroying like cop cars, and Mantis is using her powers to make them sway their way. And like I said, it was just kind of this. Originally, it was just kind of like, oh, this is just kind of weird for a Christmas movie. But then it's like, the second time viewing it and kind of looking back, it's like, is it really that weird though? I mean, does Kevin McAllister do anything less to like the Wet Bandits in his movie? I mean, I guess the difference being is that the Wet Bandits are villains and the cops are not really. They're just doing their job. They're just trying not to let Kevin Bacon get abducted. But after the second viewing, it wasn't a big point for me the first time around. And the second time around, it was even less of a point where it's like, it's a Guardians of the Galaxy special, so you're gonna get that. They're alien. They don't actually like conform to what's going on Earth. They're not Terrian, to put it in Yondu terms. You get to space. They abduct Kevin Bacon and they head off to nowhere. So Mantis kind of hypnotizes. There is a term for her powers. I can't recall it at the time of this recording, and I'm not going to sideline too long to look it up. But short term is that she kind of hypnotizes him to be okay with the abduction. That he's okay to go with them. And so, like I said, they're out in space, and he's like, I should be mad, but somehow, this is exciting. And they find out that Kevin Bacon himself is an actor. Ugh, yuck, actors. Like the characters he portrays in the movies is not himself. He portrays characters. He just acts. So they're chameleon. He's a chameleon basically. He just does whatever anybody tells him or whatever role he needs to do. So he's untrustworthy. And how can Peter want this? How could he enjoy this? And as a side track, I didn't say earlier, but they also pretty much steal from a store a whole bunch of Christmas decorations. Drax is wearing this awesome cat laser on a cat shooting lasers out of his eyes while riding a pizza sweater. Probably the best thing ever made. I'm sure it's going to show up everywhere. It's going to be at conventions soon. It's going to be part of somebody's cosplay. But awesome shirt. Awesome ugly sweater. So they kind of find out that I guess Kevin Bacon is kind of false in a way. Like they don't understand the I don't want to say they don't understand the concept of acting. I guess, if they were to watch Footloose, they don't delineate of that's a character he's portraying, and that's not a real life story. That's just entertainment. Where they're a little bit more. And I guess in Drax's case, he's supposed to be literal to begin with. He isn't always literal. That's kind of a problematic area with that character across the movies. But he's supposed to be like literal. Like he just doesn't really kind of understands that concept. If it could never go over his head because his reflexes are so fast he would catch it. Mantis was kind of sheltered too. I'm assuming she was around Ego. I don't know how much traveling she did with Ego, but she may not be. She may be a little bit sheltered herself. So they have to basically come to terms with that. What he portrays in the movies is not the same as who he is in real life. So she has to hypnotize him even further to pretend to be Kevin Bacon, the hero. Which comes through a lot of hilarious little tidbits. But I'm going to move along and get towards basically the third act here, where they call Peter out, and with their decorations that they have absconded with, they somehow decorate nowhere without Peter's knowledge. He comes out, and there's lights, and there's blow up dolls. Is that the right term? Is that how we celebrate Christmas, is with blow up dolls? There's a blow up Santa, and I feel like I'm digging the hole even deeper, so I'm going to move on. There's snowfall. They're trying to give Peter whatever, everything that Yondu took from him, and ultimately they go and they give him the gift of Kevin Bacon, and Peter's like, oh, basically you're doing human trafficking. You don't give other people for Christmas. And then, of course, realizing that Mantis has kind of brainwashed him. So he requests that she undoes it. She does it, but it's to a disastrous effect. Kevin Bacon, of course, is now in space, and now he's got a clear head, and he's friggin' out. He's going nuts. So they have to track him down and get him back to Earth. And in doing so, Kraglund's kind of telling Kevin Bacon how Peter really looks up to him, and he really enjoyed his movies, and he says Kevin may not have in actuality saved that town with dancing, but Peter Quill has saved the universe through dance, and it was because of Kevin Bacon that Peter Quill was able to do so. There's one last thing that he has to do before he goes home, and he lets his wife know that he'll be a little bit late, and he sings with the old 79s again towards the end of the movie, and a nice going out song, another lovely song to add to your Christmas playlist. Probably a better Christmas song to add to your playlist than the first one from the old 97s. And everybody's getting gifts. They're doing the gift giving, and they're for the most part, I'm assuming the majority of them are experiencing Christmas for the first time. Really, I know I already said spoilers at the beginning, but spoilers. Rocket Raccoon does get Bucky's arm. He does say in the Avengers Endgame. Was it Endgame or was it Infinity War? I think it was Infinity War. He does say to Bucky in Infinity War or Endgame that he was going to own that arm, and he owns that arm. He gets that arm. Hilarious, funny shit. So everybody kind of gets their presents, and then they go and they send Kevin Bacon home. Heartwarming ending. Tear to the eye ending. Ultimately, Mantis gives Peter the present that she was dreading. She tells him that she's his sister, which he takes very, very well, and he's very happy to have a sister. That it's a sister. It's somebody that's a part of his team. And and then she said, and he's like, what brings all this? And it's like, it's because of Kraglund's story of how Yondu ruined Christmas. And then this is where the whole thing with Yondu. Now, in the beginning of the podcast, I was saying, this the opening sheds negative light on Yondu and how he's kind of an ass. But the end of the story kind of brings it back around, where he kind of sees the stuff in the garbage can and realizes that, I guess he's kind of at fault that they were doing something. They were doing something with some heart, and he opens up the one gift, and here it's the gift that was supposed to be for him, and here it's the one of the items that sits on his dashboard. So it hauls back to the first movie that pretty much everything or most everything or a good amount of the stuff that's probably on his dashboard are little, all these little trinkets that are on the dashboard rather are things that may have been from Peter for Christmas or for just gift giving or whatever, and Peter was the one that started that. And then the inverse is that Peter gets a present. He goes back to his bunk and there's a present there for him rather, and that's when Peter gets his guns that you eventually see throughout the rest of the series. So they came from Yondu for the holiday, for Christmas, for Life Day, for whatever you celebrate. So it kind of shows the soft side, kind of shows the turning point from where Yondu is, a hard ass, where it's like he's starting to soften up to Peter a little bit. I mean, obviously the thing with Peter is like, Yondu was bringing those kids to Ego, knowing that Ego was killing them, and didn't care. That was a job, and he was soft on Peter to begin with, and Peter kind of helped him become a better person, alien, because of it. So it was kind of nice ending where it's like, oh, you get you get Yondu kind of softening up. It makes sense in the canon. It doesn't really, it's not something, again, is it out of universe? It doesn't seem like it could be out of universe. It kind of fits with the rest of the story. It kind of fits with Guardians 1 and 2. It doesn't undo Yondu being Peter's daddy. As a matter of fact, it just kind of shows the origin of it. And it's just a nice way, with the animation, it's a nice way to bring back Yondu for those flashback roles. Again, it harkens back to holiday specials of Christmas past, where you kind of get this mixed media where it's like it's a live show, and generally it's a variety show. And then you get like animated segments, and you get musical segments, and I mean, very, very much a Star Wars holiday special. You have a storyline, you have animated segments, you have musical segments. And you have an overarching plot. Is it a deep plot? No, not really. It's just a heartwarming Christmas, giving plot, and it was a nice tale, and it was a nice ending. Is it a Christmas, is it something that you're going to watch every year for Christmas? I mean, for me, every year I watch National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. Is this something that would add to the list? Possibly. I wouldn't say possibly. Definitely. Definitely. Because so the other in-universe, or the other Marvel property that's kind of takes place during Christmas, besides Die Hard, I think Die Hard is Fox, and now they own Fox, so I guess that makes Die Hard a Disney Christmas movie. But that's not MCU. The other MCU piece that actually takes place during Christmas that I can recall offhand is Hawkeye. And the only reason why I can recall it is that I'm bombarded when I go on Facebook. I'm bombarded with the ads. They're like, "Oh, watch this for Christmas now," and it's supposed to be the holiday staples, Hawkeye. And I mean, Hawkeye's good, but Hawkeye's building towards a bigger universe. Hawkeye has some stuff that's around it that you have to be familiar with. I think you can pretty much watch Guardians of the Galaxy without watching the rest of the stuff, watching the other Guardians movies or Thor Love and Thunder or any of the Avengers stuff that they appear in, and still kind of get the gist of it. It does a nice job of kind of standing out on its own. And it's short. Let's just bring it down to that. It's like usually if if I'm watching a Christmas movie or a holiday movie, it's just like I just went in and out. 2 hours and I'm out of here. I don't want to invest a 2-day watch. I don't know, however long Hawkeye is. I mean, Hawkeye's good. I like it, but I don't know if it's Hawkeye is the Christmas tradition over, say, Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special. But that's about it. I gotta wrap up. We are at the end of our time. Did I say anything that you agree with? Did I say stuff that you didn't agree with? Did you just not listen to it and skip to the ending here because you didn't want spoilers? Let me know wherever you can comment. Oh yeah, I do want to put out there that I'm trying to make a functional group now. This used to be a team thing for behind the scenes of Bestow TV, but this might help out with outlets like iTunes or Spotify or other areas where there may not be commenting, or if there is commenting, I may or may not see it. But if you have the time, go to facebook.com/group/friends of Bestow TV and send us an invite and open up some chat there, But that is about it. Subscribe where you can subscribe. Join where you can join. Like if you can like. And I'll catch you next time. Have a happy Life Day.